History is being made today as the Kart FedEx Series races for the first time on the circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, the home of the Canadian Formula One Grand Prix. Local drivers like recent winner Patrick Carpentier will be strong, but Brazil's Cristiano de Mata returned to the victory circle last weekend and is making a charge for the championship. Yes, welcome to the continuing story of the Kart FedEx Series, round 13 of 19, and it's a brand new venue as far as this championship is concerned, but the track has been the home of the Canadian Grand Prix for 25 years. To find out more, let's join Jeremy Shaw and Lee Diffie at trackside.
Welcome to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve here in downtown Montreal. It is an historic day as far as Champ Car racing is concerned. This is the Molson Indy Montreal at the famed Circuit Gilles Villeneuve and the inaugural race for kart here on this fabulous track. It's a tremendous day. Let's have a look at the weather for you for this 80-lap race. It's 25 degrees Celsius, around about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Very comfortable conditions here, and boy, look left and right, it's very obvious there is a huge crowd here. Good afternoon from Canada. I'm Lee Diffie, joined by Jeremy Shaw. Jeremy, what a fabulous time for this first race here.
Absolutely phenomenal. I mean, even from Friday morning, there were almost 50,000 people here on Friday, and it's been just bigger and bigger crowds every single day. Tremendous enthusiasm. You know, racing is a mainstream sport here in Canada, and it shows.
The atmosphere has just been wonderful. Let's take a look at the drivers' points heading into round 13 of this 19-round championship, and courtesy his pole position provisional on Friday and yesterday, Cristiano de Mata has extended his lead by a further 2 points, now out to 44 over Patrick Carpentier and Bruno Junqueira, who are tied for second. Carpentier is on top because of his 2 wins. Frank Kitty is there in fourth by himself, Fittipaldi. Then we have a tie for sixth between Tagliani, Jourdain. Jeremy, it's very obvious how close it is for the minor positions.
Yeah, that's right. De Mata had those 3 DNFs, did not finish in a row, but a win last weekend and the pole and the provisional pole this weekend, he's extended his lead. But look at this, farther down the order, very close indeed. So a lot to play for with 7 races still remaining this season.
As the cars roll on their parade laps, we take a quick look at the manufacturer's points. Now, Christian Fittipaldi is in pit lane with the team working on the car, and that is something that Fittipaldi did not need. He hasn't had the most enjoyable weekend this weekend, the Newman Haas pilot. So problems there, and it hasn't all gone his teammates' way early. We'll have more on that for you in a moment. Getting back to those manufacturers' points, Toyota lead the way with their strong display of 7 wins over Honda and Ford Cosworth power plants. So it's still not over for the win there, with a long way to go for Toyota. The constructors' points, we view those leading into round 13 as Fittipaldi rolls. That's a good sign. And naturally, with their dominant presence in this field, Lola have a stranglehold on the constructors' title.
Yeah, big numerical advantage for Lola. They also have had 9 wins this season to the 3 of Reynard.
So Christian Fittipaldi back out on circuit. That was a little bit of a scare, but he seems to be in good shape, and he will be allowed to rejoin in his original position. Let's have a look at how they will line up for the Molson Indy Toronto. Cristiano de Mata, his 6th pole of the year, and has the distinct honour of being the first kart pole sitter on this circuit. Dario Franchitti, boy, did he improve in yesterday's qualifying session. He had a lot of problems this weekend, and that's his first front row since he was on pole in Chicago. Back to row 2, Bruno Junqueira. He had an interesting qualifying yesterday. Had to take evasive action when an animal ran on the track, but he was able to keep it all straight. Patrick Carpentier, the hero of this town. He has the whole of Montreal riding in that car with him.
Row 3 of the grid, Kenny Brack, he's in a backup car today. They found some damage to the tub from running over the curbs after qualifying yesterday, and he was fastest in the morning warm-up, so clearly no disadvantage there. Jimmy Vasser, it's his best qualifying since Long Beach. That's the good news. The bad news, Vasser and Brack have come together on a first lap 3 different times this season on row 4 of the grid. Scott Dixon, that time was set on Friday. He's struggled since then and had a 3rd gear break or 4th gear break in the morning warm-up as well. Alex Tagliani, he bounced back well to qualify 8th after a crash on Friday.
My apologies, I think I said Molson Indy Toronto, Molson Indy Montreal. It's hard to tell, there's always so many people here in Canada. Shinji Nakano starts there, and he is one of the 4 drivers with Formula One experience here. He starts alongside Paul Tracy, who had a dreadful first qualifying problem with some car hassles, and he worked his way up into the top 10. Fittipaldi starts 11, and he said he's not happy sitting mid-pack. It's going to be a tough old day from there, and he starts alongside Tora Takagi.
row 7 of the grid. Tony Kanaan, he's been struggling all weekend. He told me this morning they tried 3 different setups in the warm-up. He wasn't really happy with any of them. Oriol Serbia, he's been fast all weekend. The bad news is, in the final qualifying session, the engine blew, so he was out early. He's got a much better car than 14th on the grid. Back on row 8, Michel Jourdain Jr., he's got a quick car too, but never got a clear lap in qualifying. He's been in the final 2 rows of the grid in 8 of the last 9 races. Adrian Fernandez alongside, he too switched to the backup car after damaging the tub over the curbs on Friday.
And Adrian's still a little bit sore and stiff as well with riding these ripple strips. He's had a few bumps and humps this round, that's for sure. As we go back to row 9, we have someone in pit lane, and it is Michael Andretti. It has been a very frustrating weekend for Michael. It is the 3rd time this year he starts last on the grid, and as you can see right now, more problems for the Motorola car. So as the Motorola team attend to that, Jeremy, let's take a look at the track map. This wonderful 2.7 mile, 4.3 kilometre road circuit.
Yeah, this is the only track that the champ cars have raced on. The Formula 1 cars regularly race on the course. These cars are about 6 seconds slower than the F1 cars, but it's still a very impressive sight around here. These cars are a lot heavier than the Formula 1 cars, and they don't have quite so much, anything like as much grip. Got a standard Bridgestone Potenza tyre here, the tyre war in Formula 1. It's a great racetrack, several good overtaking opportunities. The best of those, I would say, would be turn 10 at the hairpin and turn 12 leading into that final chicane before the start-finish line. The fastest part of the course before that final chicane, the cars reach well over 190 miles an hour.
Some information for you from pit lane. The same problem for both Christian Fittipaldi and Michael Andretti. Problems with the readout on their dash. Let's take a look at the circuit analysis for round 13 of the Kart FedEx Championship Series. Of course, the usual 18 cars starting, 80 laps here. It's a longer race than the Formula 1 race. And as Jeremy touched on, those speeds in excess of 190 miles per hour, over 300 kilometres per hour. And boy, there's a lot of gear shifts in this one today.
A lot of gear shifts. If you're running a 6-speed gearbox, it's probably something about 36 gear shifts per lap. If you're running a 7-speed, as many as 44 shifts per lap. So around about 3,000 shifts during this race. It's certainly going to be hard on the gearboxes and the transmissions, and also very, very hard on the brakes. Several chicanes here and a couple of hairpins. The brakes are really going to come under a lot of intense pressure this afternoon.
Within this 80-lap race, the magic number re-pit window is 21. Now, as the cars work their way towards the final chicane, turns 12 and 13, we are going green this time by. Round 13 is set to crank up the inaugural Champ Car event on Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Montreal. They pack up nicely. Does Jim Swintel give them the green? He does. We're away for the first ever Champ Car race here in Montreal, down into turn 1. Brack and Vassar side by side further back. Frank Kitty looks on the inside. Oh, there's a bit of shove, there's a bit of biff and barge, and one of the Target Chip Ganassi cars is out, and it is Kenny Brack again. Now, it looked like Tagliani collided with him, and you can see just how angry Kenny Brack was. And D'Amata fleets away on the opening lap.
Unbelievable luck for Kenny Brack. It's 4 or 5 times this season he's been had a problem on the first lap as Michael Andretti. Good move there around the outside of Adrian Fernandez, round at turns 6 and 7.
D'Amata, Frank Kitty, the way they started. Patrick Carpentier is up there, then Bruno Junqueira. There is Tagliani. It looked like Tagliani got into the back of Kenny Brack, and he has reported in, and they have noticed that there's damage to the rear suspension. He was absolutely livid. There is Jimmy Vassar. He's got away to a positive start, and we are under a full course caution. Report from the players' pit, no damage to Tagliani's car.
Here we are, yeah, full course caution. It's a shame they couldn't have got Kenny Brack's car out of the way. And, you know, with a good minute and 25 seconds or so on this opening lap, I'd have thought there was time to get the car out of the way. Clearly the officials decide otherwise. We do go full course caution, and you've got to feel sorry for Kenny Brack. I mean, boy, he's just had disaster after disaster. We've got a couple of guys in the pits, Michel Jourdain Jr. and Adrian Fernandez, both bringing their cars onto pit lane. I think just routine stops here, just a quick fuel top-up. Maybe they can go another lap, or well, they can't. They only go one more lap than anybody else before they need to make the pit stop. But you never know. That could turn out to be crucial in the late stages. So there's Fernandez's car getting serviced there. They have to change the tyres as well under the new rules. A long stop for Fernandez. Jourdain is out well ahead of him, and Michael Andretti with a flat left rear tire limping into the pits. You can see that left rear tire flailing around there. So he'd made a good move on the first lap, did Michael. He got around Adrian Fernandez, but cleared some contact later on, and there's Kenny Brack, poor old Kenny Brack, running back to the pits.
That is his 7th DNF of the season from 13 rounds. It is a complete contrast to the season he had last year. So the Motorola boys go to work on Michael Andretti's car, and he is released. And we take, as the replay there of Brack going out, that was the tail end of it. We'll get another look at it. Watch center of your screen. And it looked like Tagliani was hit by Paul Tracy, and then that went on to go into Kenny Brack. So maybe it was a three-way shunt, and look at Brack's frustration. First corner, tangle up. Here it is from Paul Tracy. We'll get a better idea of it here. Heading in, and Tracy does collide with Tagliani, and look at Brack right all over the back of Tagliani.
Yeah, and you know, Paul Tracy is always a charger on the first lap, and it was all just a big concertina move there. Tracy was well back in the pack. He was in 10th place on the grid, so you know it's a wrong place to be really for the start of a motor race. You don't really want to be in the middle of the pack. You want to be either at the front or at the back, really, preferably at the front, of course. And poor old Kenny Brack, he was the innocent victim of that shunt. He almost landed on the front, on the nose cone of his teammate Scott Dixon's car. I think Dixon got away without any damage there, but it was just you know, it certainly wasn't Tagliani's fault. And arguably wasn't Tracy's fault, but certainly Tracy hit Tagliani, Tagliani hit Brack, and a big sort of, you know, there it goes, you know, it's one of those pendulum maneuvers, and the last guy in the string is Kenny Brack. Just as he was turning into the right-hander, he's out of the race.
Look at Michael Andretti's rear left tyre. That is looking rather unhealthy. Well, we've had Mimo Gidley, we have had Roberto Moreno. Last weekend we had Max Pappas, and it's now time to welcome to the international commentary box Townsend Bell. How's things, Townsend?
Oh, pretty good. A little too much spare time on my hands, but it's good to be with you guys.
What did you make of that first corner incident?
Well, there's no love lost between Tracy and Tagliani, but I think that looked pretty innocent. Paul just got a little nudge in the back of Alex, and like you said, he had to glance off there. Unfortunately, caught Kenny, so it's Kenny's had some bad luck this season, I tell you.
So one more time by, and we will see green. Some frantic activity down there in the pits with Michel Jourdain Jr. and also Mario Dominguez, the two Mexicans, in and out fairly quickly. Well, you said before we came on air, Townsend, you were predicting a few dive bomb moves on the opening lap.
Well, we saw a couple there in the first corner. Michael looked pretty aggressive coming up through the back. He was the same way when we were racing there at Toronto earlier this year. I don't know if that flat tire was the result of getting into somebody's end fence or whatnot, but we'll see what happens here on the restart. It'll probably be a little more conservative, but it's always fun to watch him go too wide in this first corner.
Yeah, certainly. He's changed that left rear tire. He is still on the lead lap, so while Kenny Brack is out of the race, everybody else still on the lead lap. We saw Jourdain and Dominguez come in that time around to make a pit stop, so already we're just a couple of laps into the race, and Michel Jourdain Jr. has made 2 pit stops, so interesting strategy by those guys. You know, Michel, here's another great view from the overhead. You can just see how that whole pack of cars concertina together at the turn 2, that hairpin corner, and there off goes poor old Kenny Brack out to the outside.
He's been running fairly well this weekend too, Kenny Brack. He was a pretty good performer in both qualifying sessions, but it is not to be today.
Just another thought on Michel Jourdain Jr. He's had the second worst qualifying average of the whole field this year, and he's got the second best finishing percentage or finishing average this year, behind only Cristiano D'Amato. So he's certainly a good racer, but he does need to qualify better. And as we said earlier on when we looked at the grid, he thought he had a much better car in qualifying than he showed. The car was fast, he just couldn't get a clear lap in the final session of qualifying.
On-board camera shot, and we have on-boards with both of the players, Forsyth Fords, Patrick Carpentier and Alex Tagliani. We will be going green this time by. Let's see if we can have an orderly run through the opening few turns.
Green flag, we are green.
Here we go, second time around, and D'Amato leads them over the line. Frank Kitty, Carpentier, Junquera and Jimmy Vasser, who's having an inspired run this weekend. They've seemed to have worked their way through those electrical problems and problems with the traction control. So things are looking up for the Shell Rahal Ford driver. They get through the turn 1 complex clean this time round.
Hooray! Finally, the race is underway, fair and square now. There's Michael Andretti, the two last lap stoppers, though. Dominguez at the back of the field behind Michel Jourdain Jr. Farther forward, there's Jimmy Vasser there. Vasser running in 5th place, just ahead of Alex Tagliani. Behind those two, we're on board with that guy, is Paul Tracy in 7th place.
Carpentier did well early on to pounce and get ahead of Bruno Junqueira. So he has picked up 1 position. Paul Tracy sitting in 7th. He started 10th, so he's moved up 3 nicely as well. Early days, long race, and a lot of concern about brakes and gearbox here on the inside. Whoa! That was very ambitious from Alex Tagliani.
That ain't going to work. I mean, he was way too late on the brakes up there at the hairpin, Townsend Bell.
Yeah, it was a pretty brave move. It looked like he got moved over by whoever was there in front of him and tried to go up the inside of Vasser. And you know, I can't say that I haven't tried that myself a couple of times this year, but good on him for trying. I'm glad he didn't hit anybody. He's back underway. He's just at the back of the pack now.
Jimmy Vasser just saw a blur of blue. And he was able to gather it all back up and keep going. So the order is D'Amato, Franchitti, Carpentier, Junqueira, the top 4 as they come through the turn 1 complex. Let's have a look at the replay. Watch left of screen.
Now you see that little dodge that Jimmy gave him right before the brake zone. I've seen that before, and a lot of times that can catch you off guard. You hope that the guy holds his line straight, but that little dodge that Jimmy gives him forces Tagliani all up in the inside at the last moment, but it was pretty optimistic.
How hard do you reckon Jimmy is laughing there when he sees Tagliani go straight across his bows into a spin?
About as hard as he was laughing when I went into the inside in Mexico.
And there's Tracy. He locked up the brakes as well. He does get around the corner and didn't lose another place. He could have easily lost the place there. Christian Fittipaldi right behind him, but Tracy was able to maintain that 6th position.
And he has moved from 10th to 6th. Paul Tracy, he has been the big winner. 4 positions early on, and he continues to say thank you very much up front. As you can see, it's a fairly even gap. 1st to 2nd, maybe a little bit more. 2nd to 3rd, Franchitti back to Carpentier. And it's a little over half a second that D'Amato is enjoying over Dario Franchitti at the moment. And I'm sure Dario cannot believe that he is in 2nd position at the moment, considering the weekend he has had. It all turned around for him yesterday in final qualifying. He was very, very disappointed with the performance of the car. He said he was on every straight line section of this track. He was 0.2 of a second slower than Michael Andretti and Paul Tracy. And he said, I'm sick of the excuses that I'm getting around this place. It's not good enough. I've been putting up with it since Toronto. But now things seem to have turned around.
They do. Dario was saying before the race, though, that the fuel consumption on the Honda engine this year isn't particularly good, and he was worried that it might have to turn down the fuel mixture, run a fairly lean mixture in order to get through to the full 21-lap pit window here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. But he doesn't look that way early on. I mean, he's certainly keeping pace with Cristiano in his first couple of laps.
On board with the 3rd place, Patrick Carpentier. There he is, Junqueira right on him. Vasser, then Tracy. Has been the big mover in the field. Let's ride with Paul for a moment. Bridgestone running order at the top of your screen brings you the updated positions. Townsend, that turn 10 hairpin, it is so slow. It's about 35, 40 miles per hour, and it looks like one of the toughest corners on this track.
Well, it's pretty slow. Everybody will be about the same speed through there. There's no aerodynamics working, so it's just a matter of getting a clean rolling run on the way in and on the way out. Any little bobble at the exit, you're liable to have somebody making a run up the back of you.
Just at the back of the field, Tagliani dived past Mario Dominguez under braking for the turn 12-13 chicane, the final chicane here, the end of the back straightaway. So Tagliani now we get into atone for that earlier error at the hairpin. He's still way back in 16th place. This is the battle of 2nd place, and all the way back from this man Patrick Carpentier in 3rd place. Behind him is Bruno Junqueira, and then the whole train of cars behind him. The first two need to pull away a little bit. Cristiano D'Amato, the fastest lap of the race so far that time around. 1 minute 22.100. That compares to his pole lap in 1 minute 18.959. And Cristiano was the only guy in a 1:18s in qualifying.
Further back in the field, Michael Andretti has worked his way up from last to 14th. He sits in behind Adrian Fernandez. There seems to be some thought that Maybe Michael Andretti cut that tyre, that rear left, on the front of Adrian Fernandez's car when he made that outside move on the opening lap. This is your race leader, though, and the championship leader, Cristiano De Matta, who has been the class of the field all weekend long. He's been fast right from the word go this weekend. He said he felt positive and confident coming into this race meeting because of Team Newman Haas's ability to adapt to new circuits very quickly. We've got another new circuit next weekend at the Shell Grand Prix of Denver, so everyone has to do it all over again. First two on the road have never raced on this track previously. Patrick Carpentier has, and has won in Toyota Atlantics. As we ride with Christian Fittipaldi looking up ahead at the 6th place, Paul Tracy.
Christian's moved up several places already. He started 11th, he's up into 7th place now, largely as a result of other people's errors. But he's certainly running well in the early stages of the race. Meanwhile, we hear from the pits that Adrian Fernandez's crew already warning him on the radio that brake wear and the brakes in general are very marginal here on the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. You can easily overcook the brakes, and if once you've got the brakes well overheated, the fluid starts to boil, then Townsend Bell, you're in big trouble.
Yeah, you know, you bring that up. I've heard more commentary from the drivers and the teams in the pits this weekend about the brakes than anywhere else we've been this year. It's really interesting to try to find the balance between an adequate level of bite on the brake pads and longevity so that they'll last this full race distance. I think it's a big unknown because nobody's run a full race distance with their brake setups that they chose for practice and qualifying. So I think that might become an issue here later on in the race.
And what about from a driver's point of view, Townsend? I mean, how restrictive do you have to be and how much self-control not to hammer your brakes too hard?
Well, typically in a race in these cars, you can use the brakes to their full potential almost the full way through the race distance. Here it's frustrating because then it becomes more like sports cars where you're sort of babying the car to the finish. And if you've got a guy charging hard behind you and taking a look in the later stages of the race, it's tough when the equipment won't hold up there for you. But it's too early to say. Right now, I'd have to say everybody looks like they're managing all right. But when guys start running wide of the apex, missing a brake zone here and there, you have to think that the brake pads might have seen their full life.
Getting some shots there of Scott Dixon, last year's Rookie of the Year, running in 11th position at the moment. He qualified in 7th, so he's dropped 4 places since the start of this race. We're now on lap 9.
Yeah, Scott Dixon qualified 2nd fastest on Friday. He was really on fire then, but just things have gone backwards from there. Struggled all the way through on Saturday. A variety of problems, and 3 different times this weekend he's broken 4th gear on that car, including in the warm-up this morning.
1.5 seconds now, the lead margin to Cristiano De Matta. There it is. There is your race leader in the Newman Haas Haviland Toyota.
A lot of times the broken gears can be the result of a braking problem. If the brakes aren't gripping the tires enough and you're using the transmission by accident to slow the car down, that could damage the box.
And Michael Andretti made a big mistake coming through turns 12 and 13 that time around, and Alex Tagliani was trying to get a run on him as they got down to the turn 1. I don't know whether he was able to make the move, but certainly Andretti lost a lot of momentum coming out of turn 12 and 13, and that enabled it was actually Jourdain to really get a really big run on him, and so did Tagliani. But we're on board with Tagliani now, and we can see that it is Jourdain in front of him. So Jourdain was not able to make that pass, and Tagliani remains bottled up behind him as well. But it was a big sideways slide by Andretti, so he just tried to carry a bit too much speed through the first part of this 12 and 13 chicane.
The media attention on both Patrick Carpentier and Alex Tagliani this weekend has been something else. It's just been pretty amazing to witness it firsthand. Of course, there's 3 Canadian drivers here this weekend, and in this field, Paul Tracy, the other one. But, of course, Paul is from Ontario, so he's not receiving as much attention as the 2 local boys, the 2 French Canadians. There has just been a huge pack surrounding them the entire weekend. As we ride with Paul Tracy, let's take a lap around circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
sure. Paul reaching down to make an adjustment there on his steering wheel dials. It could be fuel strategy. It could be a traction control adjustment. It really depends on how they have it set up. My guess it would be either a traction control slip percentage adjustment to either give him more slip or less slip, more traction control, or a fuel strategy to lean out the motor.
There you have it, a lap around circuit. Gilles Villeneuve with Paul Tracy. Fantastic stuff. And it was interesting to note, Jeremy, how often Jimmy Vasser was locking it up in front of Paul.
Certainly was there, particularly at turn 5 there, one of the chicanes, he really locked him up and lost quite a bit of momentum, so Jimmy's got to be careful. Still in the very early stages of this race. We're on lap 12 out of 80, so if he's going to be locking him up like that regularly, he's going to have a major problem later in the race. Meanwhile, the other cool car of Dario Franchitti, we're on board with Paul Tracy. His teammate Dario Franchitti still in second place, but now gradually losing ground to the race leader Cristiano D'Amato.
Now that looks like
Mario Dominguez. Yeah, the yellows are out again. So maybe there's some sort of a shunt back there. Maybe it's just the one car pulled off the road. I'm sure they could have got it out of the way. So presumably something else is wrong out there. But D'Amato, he's turned a string of fastest laps. 3 of the lot. D'Amato is in the pits.
Race leader in. So this is really thrown.
In your box, nice and easy in your box. Hit your mark. Hit your mark. 4 tires and fuel, guys.
Cristiano D'Amato has been serviced. This will make things a little interesting now.
4 tires to the left as you exit.
They're all starting to come in now. Townsend, how attuned to you are those radio messages? I mean, you're fully focused on what you have to do physically, but you're listening to that as well 100%.
Well, not only are you trying to just get in and have a nice clean stop, you're trying to do it as quickly as possible. That includes coming off the pit lane speed limiter and pulling into the box and leaving the box back up to the pit lane speed limiter. And in the final brake zone here off the back straightaway before the speed limit line, you're trying to maximize every 1/10 of a second or 100th of a second because there's a big race in the pits for position. It's so hard to pass in this series that you try to make up positions any way you can.
That's Mario Dominguez. He'd stopped on the exit of turn 2, the first hairpin corner right after the left-hander at the start, after the start-finish line. And I'm amazed that Cristiano D'Amato came into the pit lane this early in the race. It's only lap 12. The window here is lap 21. You have to stop at least every 21 laps, and it's too early now to be able to make the whole distance on just 4 pit stops. So I'm amazed they brought him in. There's Oriol Servia. Sounds like he's got a clutch problem.
Some sort of clutch problem.
That's a great shame.
Gosh, man, these guys have had some tough luck. The Visteon teams worked so hard all year for me, for Oriol, and man, after the engine in qualifying, this is tough to see for those guys.
What Townsend Bell's talking about is Oriol Servia had a massive engine blow during yesterday's second qualifying session that went the oil spread all the way down the back straight, all the way down pit lane as well, and he has been very quick this weekend, so disappointment for the Patrick Racing organisation. Tracy has gained 5 positions in the first 13 laps. He has gone from 10th to 5th, and you can hear the acceleration. We are getting set to go again. Through turn 12 and 13, the foot goes to the floor. Here they come, and Franchitti will get the green to restart the Molson Indy Montreal, the inaugural Champ Car race here in downtown Montreal. And the Scotsman leads away, got a little out of shape coming out of the turn 1 complex.
He certainly did. He carried too much speed into the right-handed hairpin there at turn 2, got it a good, well tweaked up on the exit. I don't think he lost a position, but if Carponche was really close to him, he might have got a run on him. He didn't. You can see there that Dario Franchitti has maintained that lead. In second place is Patrick Carponche, and right behind Carponche is Bruno Junqueira.
Let's watch how much pressure Paul Tracy applies to Jimmy Vasser. He's got close before. We've seen Jimmy feel the pressure of Tracy's charge. Let's see what happens on this restart lap. Christian Fittipaldi, who started 11th, is well placed in 6th as well, so he's gained as many positions as Paul Tracy has. Franchitti's got that early jump over Carpentier. Long way to go as we come within 7 laps of this first mandatory pit stop. The top 8 cars are yet to pit. Just look at the crowd in the background. This event has been supported in an unbelievable fashion. the very first Champ Car race here in Montreal. There was something in excess of 50,000 people here on Friday, over the 60 mark yesterday. Yet to be an official figure on today's attendance, but it has been phenomenal. And there is the man with his 2 victories this year. Patrick Carpentier has been the most chased and wanted man in Montreal this weekend.
They've done a great job to pull themselves up mid-season, the players team. They were so strong before the season started in all our testing. At every track we went to where the players team was there, we were really impressed with the speed and consistency of their cars. Then somehow in the middle of the season they seem to lose their form, but they've really done a good job to gather themselves up and really start making a run here towards the last half of the season.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Townsend Bell. And the team players organisation, I think Ford Cosworth, they got a little bit behind on their electronics with the traction control system. I think it's fair to say that Toyota and Honda pretty much got a jump on them through the early stages of the season, and it's only lately that Ford Cosworth really got a handle on that traction control system, particularly really the last 4 or 5 races, and now they're almost back on a par, I would say, with Toyota and Honda. And the Reynard chassis, of course, they've been outnumbered, but team players in particular and Derek Walker's organisation done quite a bit of development on that car during the year, and on most of the tracks, very little to choose between the Reynard and the Lola.
Yeah, the Reynard that the players run has been developed quite independent of our team, the Visteon team, and Walker. They have their own wind tunnel program and been designing and building their own pieces to enhance what they've got.
Well, I mentioned earlier that we've lost 3 drivers from this race already within the first 16 laps, and the latest is Oriel Servia for the Visteon Patrick team. Hi Oriel, it's Lee Diffie here. That's a shame to see you out so early. CV joint, we were told, is that correct?
That's correct, it's a shame.
You've shown this weekend that you adapted to the Montreal circuit very quickly. You've had some strong, quick runs around here this weekend. Were you enjoying the circuit for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, we've been amazing, I think, all weekend. Starting Friday, first practice, we were P3. The car was fantastic right away. I mean, I never had a car that it's quick, so easy. It was easy to go around. I really loved the track. I loved quick chicanes, and this place, as you can see, it's full of them. So I was just having a great time, and yesterday in qualifying we had an engine problem and we started 14th, but I could still see the Visteon colors up in the podium because the car was so great. I could see anything possible today, but I wasn't expecting this.
Oriel, this is Jeremy Shaw here. You seem to be running well before that pit stop. You're really gelling well with the team now. Absolutely no hint though of any problem was there before that pit stop?
No, not at all. I mean, I think I was able to run a lot quicker than the cars in front, but I didn't want to risk too much so early, so I decided I was saving lots of fuel. I wanted to do a quick stop, and everything went fine until I decided to go out of the pits, and right away I felt that something was broken.
One thing though, Oriel, it seems strange to come into the pits on lap 12. Why come in so early?
Well, I don't know how much can I tell you, because maybe next weekend we'll do the same, but honestly, we talked about it. I mean, Patrick Racing, it's known for their good strategies over the years, and we thought about this scenario about the yellow coming around lap 10, and we thought if we were behind top 10, we're going to stop in it, and actually, fun enough, Cristiano also did it, so I mean, we'll see. It has to pay off at some point when Cristiano will have clear track in front, but he'll have to do still one more stop, so it will be interesting to see.
Hard luck today, Oriel. We'll see you in a week's time in Denver.
All right, see you there.
Oriel Servia exits this race.
And, I think Oriel is absolutely right there. When you're behind the top 10, when you're farther down the order, and he was running 12th before that pit stop, then it's not a bad idea to give yourself an opportunity to move up by making a pit stop at that stage in the race. But for the race leader, entirely different scenario.
Fastest lap of the race belongs to Dario Franchitti, and he now has a 1.7-second lead over Patrick Carpentier.
And Dario set that fastest lap of the race last time around. You've just gone quicker again, 1 minute 20.604 on lap 18 this time around. That's faster than Cristiano D'Amato was going before that round, before he came into the pits.
A couple of strong performers in the top 10. It's great to see Vassar up there. It's probably the best run we've seen him have since he finished on the podium on the streets of Long Beach earlier this year, and also Shinji Nakano and Scott Dixon are having a strong run in 7th and 8th respectively. We are now getting into that first mandatory pit stop area now on lap 19, 18 in the books already. They all must pit by lap 21.
Yeah, I think we've got the first, 8 guys have not yet made a pit stop. I think everybody else has been in the pits already once, at least so far in this race. So that would be Franchitti, Carpentier, Junqueira, Vassar, Tracy, Fittipaldi, Nakano and Dixon, the only guys who have not yet made a pit stop.
Townsend, it's the big difference this year with this change in these mandatory pit stops and the fuel stops. In your mind, once you're out there, are you just going flat out all the time, or how often are you thinking about that number and saying, I must be in by lap 21 or 33 or whatever?
Well, you're pushing hard all the time. I really like the new rules. Although it's not perfect, it definitely encourages everybody to be flat out all the time and hopefully rewards the fastest driver and the best team on that day. Some people at home might be wondering about why then would you lean out the fuel? Well, unless if you're certain to make it on distance, you might be leaning out simply to make your fuel stop shorter. When you come into the pits, if you haven't used as much gas, that means they don't have to put as much back in to fill you up. So that's what Oriole was talking about, and some guys might be leaning out if they don't think they can gain a position on the racetrack, lean out and shorten the time that you're in the pits.
There's been some criticism, though, of this new pit strategy situation in terms of that there has been very few passes for the lead because of the lack of variance in pit stop strategy. What's your thoughts on that?
I think part of the challenge that they face this year is that when traction control was legalized, this made it a lot easier for everyone to get a clean exit out of each corner. Here at Montreal, the best way to pass somebody is for someone to make a little bit of a bobble leaving the corner and for you to have a run going down the straightaway. I think we're looking at Tagliani here running wide.
Yeah, talking to making a bobble. That was Tagliani coming into turn 12 that last time around. He left his braking a little bit late, ran off into the escape road there. No harm, no foul. He just lost a lot of ground. As long as you don't make up any ground on the guys you're racing with, you're not going to be penalised. And he slowed right down on the exit, cost him a lot of time, but he is still running, and he is back here still in 15th place, the last car on the lead lap, last car running in fact.
And he slowed more than usual there, coming through the hairpin. It certainly looked that way. Everything seems to be running fine now.
Yeah, I fancy he might be running into some gearbox with some braking problems there perhaps already.
So the order is Franchitti, Carpentier, Junqueira, Vassar, Tracy, your top 5. There's been some good, strong performances in this opening stint. We are about to see the top 8 cars come on in. Patrick Carpentier now has the fastest lap of the race. The front-running players, Forsyth Ford, and the local hero who has really encouraged this crowd to come out in force. We had massive crowds in Toronto and Vancouver, but, well, this is something else, what we're witnessing here in Montreal this weekend.
Tagliani did appear to have a gearbox problem last time he came by. It sounded like in a single speed the whole way, so they might have lost a couple running gears. It's going to be tough for him to make it to the end.
And this is going to be lap 21 this time around, so we're going to see the top 8 cars on pit lane. In the meantime, Patrick Carpentier just set the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 20.461. His gap to back from the race leader, this man here, Dario Franchitti, 2.2 seconds. And we're now going to see Dario Franchitti go straight on here at the chicane and into the pits for his first stop.
Adrian Fernandez, who's running inside the top 10 in 9th, has reported in he's suffering some boost problems, but Don Halliday and the team down there are telling him to continue, keep going. We'll think about it. So here's your race leader, Dario Franchitti, the Vancouver race winner. Takes on some fluids. A quarter of the race is already over. And the Scotsman is released. Carpentier, the players' team have serviced him well. Look at this, there's a close call here. Whoa. Tracy gets out in front of Jimmy Vassar.
Just right in front of Jimmy. Tracy didn't even attempt to stay on the left-hand side of the pit lane.
No, and I think he's probably going to get a penalty for that, Townsend. You're supposed to pull out in the middle lane, and then when it's clear, then you move across the outside lane. What's your take?
You're right. I think that's pretty aggressive on Paul's part, but that's certainly within character. But, you know, that all started coming into the pits because Jimmy was a little more conservative braking for the 50-mile-an-hour line. Paul went really deep and made up a huge gap on Jimmy. So whatever advantage Jimmy had on the racetrack was negated when they were braking for the 50-mile-an-hour line. Nonetheless, that's probably a little more than Wally likes to see. If I was in that situation, I'd be a little hot at Paul right now.
You're absolutely right. Adrian Fernandez, he did not come in that time around because he did make a pit stop on lap 1, so he will be in this time around. We hear, however, that Fernandez had lost a lot of ground that time around. It was a very slow lap, relatively slow lap at least, 1 minute 22 to 2 seconds slower than the race leaders. He's having a boost problem, but he will be into the pits this time around, and that'll give this whole rest of the pack here, Andretti, Jourdain, then D'Amata. They've already made a pit stop, and here comes now the other 2 guys that had stopped on lap 1. That's Fernandez and Andretti into the pits, so Jourdain will be the leader this time around. Meanwhile, we also heard from the pits from Newman Haas Racing. All they would tell us was it was a strategic call to bring D'Amato into the pits on lap 12. That's all they're going to say about it.
Townsend, you just mentioned the pit lane speed limit. Earlier this weekend, or coming into this weekend, CART had reduced the normal 50 mile an hour or 80 kilometres per hour speed limit to 35 miles per hour, but then they reversed the decision after the first session back up to 50 because the driver said, come on, the pit lane's wide enough. The initial thought was that the pit lane was too narrow, so they had to lower the speed.
Yeah, it's a bit silly, I think, because we go to places where Long Beach it's fairly narrow. Portland, I think it's pretty narrow. I don't know. I think I'm in favor of keeping it consistent. I mean, it used to be unlimited, so 50's probably good enough. Not to mention the fact that the engine manufacturers and teams formulate a specific pit strategy around that speed, and to change it at the last second really throws a lot of people a curveball.
Yeah, so they've gone back now. They have gone back to 50 miles an hour. That is the standard. That's what we normally ran it. So at the end of the Friday sessions, the officials did agree with that, Townsend Bell. And yes, they've gone back to 50 miles an hour now for that minimum speed in pit lane. Meanwhile, here is Michel Jourdain Jr. out in front of the field. It's the second time he's led a race this season. He led 4 laps in Chicago, and now, of course, it's time for him to make his scheduled pit stop. He was last in on lap 2, and now he's in on lap 23. That's 21 laps later, absolutely on cue.
The most consistent driver as far as finishes concerned in this year's CART FedEx Championship Series. Starts to creep a little bit with the fuel hose still in. And now the Ray Hall team release him. So Cristiano D'Amato regains the lead now on lap 23, lap 24 actually. Takagi, Kanaan, Frank Kitty back in 4th. And yet another report from the Fernandez pit that he is definitely losing boost. An update from the players pit that Tagliani reports all gears there. No problem with the gearbox at the moment.
So he's back in the lead, is Cristiano D'Amato, but he's now made 2 pit stops. He's still going to make 3 more pit stops before the end of this race. We're going to have to see how this pans out before the end of it. It's going to be very interesting to see whether that strategy is going to pay off. But he is out in the lead. He's now beginning to stretch his legs over Tora Takagi and Tony Kanaan.
Yeah, he's made 1 pit stop, so this is a very important stint right here. He's got a clean track in front of him. He's just got to put his head down and do what they've done best all year long, which is just run fast, smooth, consistent laps.
So he's got 10 more laps. This is lap 24. He'll have to come in again on lap 33. Made his first pit stop on lap 12. But a massive gamble by Newman Haas Racing. He's really going to have to put his foot down now. I've put a lot of ground between himself and his pursuers to make that to make up for the ground he's going to lose by making an extra pit stop compared to those other 7 guys who just made their pit stop on lap 21.
It's been an amazing season for the 28-year-old Brazilian, who, as of last weekend, moved up to a tie for 3rd in the most victories in a season. He is tied with Bobby Ray Hall for 6 victories. If he gets his 7th today, he will move up for a tie for 2nd with Juan Pablo Montoya and Alex Zanardi. So that gives you an indication of what a stellar season so far it has been for Cristiano D'Amato. Michael Andretti currently runs in 14th position. After that cut tyre at the beginning of the race, which forced him in early, made quite a dynamic start. And we believe it was contact with the front wing of Adrian Fernandez's car that forced that tyre to be slashed and made Andretti come on in. So after that round of pit stops, the revised order is D'Amato, Takagi. Takagi is on the same strategy as Cristiano D'Amato. His first stop was on lap 12, likewise Tony Kanaan. They're your top 3. Then it's Frank Kitty, Carpentier, Junqueira, Tracy, the rest of the gang that all came in on lap 21.
Less than 52 laps then left of the Molson Indy Montreal race from, of course, the Montreal circuit, the Gilles Villeneuve circuit. Still with me here in the studio are Christopher Tate and Paul Cherry. And Patrick Carpentier, I've just been told, has now stopped for his pit strategy. Let's work on that strategy at the moment. We've got a situation. In fact, Carpentier's come in with a problem. What am I talking about? Tracy, if I can get back to Paul Tracy, still out on the track, making a bit of a nuisance of himself here and there. Very forceful today.
He was very strong. He was very strong on the opening lap, and he was very strong coming out of his pit. I think our trackside commentators are right, though. I think that's just about acceptable. You'll soon hear from the kart stewards, and particularly from Wally Dallenbach, if you're viewed to have done something too strong. Paul is an aggressive driver. He's in front of his home crowd. He's going to give it his best shot. If we have lost one of the Forsyth cars, and that's what we're hearing, then the Canadian crowd will be cheering Mr. Tracy even louder.
I can tell you that for sure, because Patrick Carpentier, apparently there are 2 pistons laying on the trackside at this moment in time, so yes. Patrick Carpentier, the Canadians won't be cheering him at the moment. Now then, De Matter, being our resident strategist, we'll call you for the moment, Paul Terry, if I may, De Matter pitted on lap 12, out of sequence, surprised 1 or 2 people, put himself well down in the order at that particular time. Why do you think the team managed to do that with him?
Well, there was a fair amount of rubbish, shall we say, hanging around at the time, and he was, whilst he was in the lead, he had to analyse his options for the rest of the race. The last part of this race will be only a short fuel consumption situation. So coming in now, every other fuel stop will be full, and at the end of the race, he will lose on the 2nd or 3rd pit stop, but on the last part of the race, he will gain phenomenally. Well,
we're looking at Cristiano De Matter at the moment. The plan seems to be working. He's at the front of the field at this moment in time. Tora Takagi was in 2nd place, and that's a pretty big result for him, Paul, at the moment.
Without a doubt, that's probably the highest that Tora's been running. He has to maintain that. He just announced this week that he's off to the IRL, so it's pretty disappointing for the series to lose him, but he's a good driver, certainly one of the best from Japan that we've seen in a long time, and I hope he can hang on to a podium position.
Well, we've got IRL from St. Louis coming up later in the programme today, of course, but let's go back now live to our trackside commentators in Montreal.
So one of the 3 Canadians are out. Top place Canadian is Paul Tracy, currently 6th on track in the Team Cool Green Honda. Into the hairpin one more time. I know that you've never raced here, Townsend, but what do you make of this circuit? Do you like the look of it?
Well, it's a very technical circuit in terms of getting mechanical grip, because it's mostly low-speed corners and long brake zones. I'd like to have a run here. Mostly it's the crowd and the atmosphere here in Montreal is great. What a great weekend weather-wise, and like you've both mentioned, the support from the fans has been incredible.
We're working very hard right now to try and get Patrick Carpentier down there in pit lane, but as you can imagine, there are so many local and national TV crews here grabbing him. I mean, the Canadian press has been all over Tagliani and Carpentier this weekend, so as soon as it is physically possible, we will get Patrick Carpentier for you and find out what the report is. Meanwhile, De Matter goes from strength to strength, but is running on a very different strategy to Franchitti et al. We will see how this pans out as the race grows old. There is Patrick. The look says it all.
It certainly does. Just dejection there from Patrick Carpentier. He set the fastest lap of the race before he came into the pits, so he knew, he had a fast car again this weekend, and once again not able to show it. And the bad news, it's particularly bad news for Patrick, because he came into the race, it's 2nd place in the points, ahead of Bruno Junqueira, 44 behind De Matter, who's still leading this race now, but De Matter's going to have a hard time. Another quick lap there, 20.66, the last 2 laps in succession. He extended his lead over Dario Franchitti by about a half a second on each of those 2 laps. He's got a lot of work to do. He's going to put up enough of a margin to make that extra pit stop, which he'll have to do compared to Dario Franchitti.
Report from pit lane is that there is an excessive amount of oil down in the Carpentier pit box, as you would imagine. And look at that, they're cleaning up the mess down there now. Tora Takagi runs a fine 2nd, and this is Tony Kanaan running in 3rd. Takagi was very quick throughout the early stages of the weekend, but couldn't really put it down when it counted yesterday in final qualifying, but he's enjoying a strong run at the moment. But he too is on the same strategy as De Matter and Kanaan. And Tagliani the same. He also pitted on lap 12, so we'll see those 4 guys come in within the next couple of laps.
Meantime, Cristiano De Matter, he certainly got the hammer down last time around. 1 minute 20.449 the lap time. That is a new fastest lap of the race.
Dario Franchitti, the race winner last time we were in Canada on the streets of Vancouver in that Team Cool Green 1-2. And we wait to hear what Dario's plans are for the 2003 season. He's yet to say which way and where he is going. Meanwhile, this is Bruno Junqueira running in the top 5 in the highest place Target Chip Ganassi car. If you've just joined us, it was a fairly action-packed first lap, first turn, because Kenny Brack was punted out. We have 2 of the 3 Target cars left in, and Junqueira is the top. Dixon's having a pretty strong run today as well. He's back in 9th at the moment. Expect to see Cristiano D'Amata in this lap. Likewise, Kanaan, Takagi and Tagliani. Well, the weather has turned around unbelievably this weekend. When we all arrived on Thursday, it did not stop raining the entire day, and there were plenty of worried faces around the place, that's for sure. There's the Newman Haas pit standing by. But Friday, Saturday and today, it's been wonderful weather. As D'Amata comes out of 10 and 11, here's Tagliani, is already in.
He's well off the pace, so Tagliani.
D'Amata's radio you can hear there as he enters for his 2nd compulsory stop.
And here comes D'Amata. Here he is onto pit lane.
Look for Timmy. Look for Timmy. Go around, tag, into your box, hit your mark, nice and square. More tires and fuel.
I want to see D'Amata come on cold tires ahead of Paul Tracy on warm tires. It looks like that might happen here.
Man, go, 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 go! Watch your speed when you exit. 4 wheels left of the white line.
First 2 have gone past Franchitti. Junqueira, he's come back out 3rd on track. Cristiano D'Amata, so he is ahead of Paul Tracy. Takagi has come out behind Tracy in 5th, and it's Vassar, Nakano, Dixon. Kanaan comes out in 9th. Townsend, talk us through what that is like coming out with a car full of fuel and those tires stone cold.
Well, with a green car in your mirrors, it can be even more interesting. But, you know, the cars are heavy. You've put as much as 35 gallons of methanol back in the car, added close to 200 pounds, and you're out there. The tires are cold. We don't have tire warmers in this series. Probably going to take 2 or 3 laps for the pressures to come up and the temperature of the tires to come up to where D'Amata's back running at a comfortable pace like he was before. So really separates the men from the boys a lot of times when you come out on cold tires.
Tora Takagi and Scott Dixon. Nice move. Whoa! Scott Dixon gets a little loose under brakes coming into the hairpin.
I'm going to have to see the replay, guys. I'm sorry I didn't catch it.
Came right up on the inside of Tora Takagi. Takagi on his outlap, and now Dixon plays catch-up again.
Yeah, that was a bit of optimistic late braking there. And talking of late braking, Shinji Nakano just ran across the curbing here on exit of 12 and 13. Didn't lose a position.
Yeah, it looks like Scott just got in real deep. Got a nice run upside the side of Tora. Probably didn't need to leave the braking as late as he did, but he did a good job to keep things pointed straight and not lose any positions.
So the revised order after that stop for those particular people: Franchitti, Junqueira 1 and 2, D'Amata 3, Tracy 4 now, Vassar is 5, Nakano is 6, Takagi, Dixon, Kanaan and Jourdain the top 10. Approaching the halfway mark of round 13 of the Kart FedEx Championship Series, and Dario Franchitti, the man who almost went all the way in 1999, leads again. Well, we've mentioned the hype, the excitement, the wonderful atmosphere, and mainly caused by Patrick Carpentier and Alex Tagliani. Sadly, Carpentier is already out of this race. He joins us now. Hi, Patrick, it's Lee Diffie here. That is a dreadful shame to see you out. What happened?
Yeah, it's disappointing. We're running really well. The crowd was liking it, but I was starting to lose a bit of speed, and I was struggling to keep up with Dario, and at the end there down the straightaway, the engine gave up. It's a shame. Ford Cosworth did a fantastic job this weekend. I guess it's part of racing, but it's a tough one to take, especially in front of the crowd here.
Can you tell us what your life's been like this weekend? And this week you've been the most wanted man in Montreal. It's been amazing scenes.
Yeah, it was a crazy week. We're in demand everywhere, and I was actually a bit tired, but to be at the front like that kind of pumps you up. But just to see how many people came here, and for the card series, it's wonderful.
You've been here before. You've won here in Toyota Atlantics. What was it like to go around this place in a champ car?
It's different, you know. You come, as they say, you come with the big boys, and it was a lot of fun to be up there, and it was a dream come true. And when I went around for the parade lap, you should have heard the people yelling and screaming, and it was fantastic.
Hey, just quickly before you go, I know that you have to go. DeMatter is on a very different strategy to Dario Franchitti and Bruno Junqueira. What are your thoughts?
I thought we were going to have him because he's going to have to do 4 pit stops right now. He was not within the window that we calculated, so it's going to be an interesting race, but we thought we had a good chance. But for me, I was losing a bit of speed, but I think right now Dario's the guy that has the best chance.
Patrick, congratulations on the way you've handled yourself with this mass media this weekend, and we'll see you in Denver next weekend.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Patrick Carpentier bows out of the Molson Indy Montreal as this race continues, and Scott Dixon lines up for a second shot at Tora Takagi. There is Alex Tagliani,
who is a lap down, in fact, is Alex Tagliani, so he's pretty much out of the race here. He's lapping very slowly. He's just trying to keep going and maybe pick up a point or two if there is a high enough rate of attrition. He's in 14th right now. They pay points, of course, in the Car FedEx Championship Series, down to 12th place.
So the top two, the first two, are on the same strategy. Dario Franchitti, Bruno Junqueira last in on 21. They must be in by lap 42, so they'll be in within the next 5 to 6 laps. Tony Kanaan. Nice to see the Pioneer WorldCom Honda continuing after the string of bad luck that Tony has had this year. But what a drive he had last weekend. Sensational stuff from Kanaan to run from last to 4th. Made up 14 positions. Paul Tracy gets a little snaky under brakes in the hairpin at turn 10, and Vassar continues to apply the pressure. And how well is Shinji Nakano going? The Japanese driver is enjoying another great day. He likes racing in Canada. He's had his season's best, was in Toronto. We'll see what he can come up with today. At the moment, it's Franchitti who continues to lead the way almost at the halfway mark. Cristiano DeMatter heads through turn 2. And I know that many of you will have seen this track and watched many Canadian Formula One Grand Prix. But for those of you who haven't and have never been here, it's an amazing place, just a stone's throw from downtown Montreal and surrounded by water. The River St. Lawrence there, right behind, and that then comes in. There's some various inlets that come in and around the casino behind us, and on the other side of the circuit there is the rowing lane that they used for the 1976 Olympics here in Montreal, and it's a very picturesque place and a very challenging racetrack for these guys. Nice to be here for the first time.
Yeah, certainly. It's just, you know, the atmosphere is phenomenal. The crowd has been great all the way through. Just tremendous atmosphere here, great enthusiasm, and a very exciting weekend all around. We've seen a couple of good races already this weekend. We had Rocky Moran Jr. win a very exciting Toyota Atlantic race. AJ Allmendinger won again in the Barbados Pro Series, his 6th win of the year. He already won the championship, and a very interesting race here this afternoon. We're now looking again at Cristiano DeMatter. He qualified on the pole, was the quickest man in the race. He's set the fastest lap, but he's back in 3rd place. He's going to have to make one more pit stop than the 2 guys that are ahead of him on the road right now. He's got a lot of work to do if he's going to make another victory out of it this afternoon.
This scrap continues. Paul Tracy 4th, Vassar 5th, Nakano 6th. Honda, Ford, Honda currently on road, and Nakano, who actually has picked up a World Championship point here in Formula One before, when he was driving for Prost. Should have seen the smile on Shinji's face earlier this weekend. He was glad to be back in Montreal. The Molson Indy Montreal continues, and we are just shy of the halfway mark, almost at lap 40 of this 80-lap race here on the famed circuit Gilles Villeneuve. A wonderful day. We've got temperatures around the 25 degrees Celsius mark, a light breeze, perfect conditions for everyone, drivers and spectators alike, and there's plenty of those here in Montreal. Well, Townsend Bell has just stepped out of the international commentary box for the meantime, and we are glad to say that we're joined by that guy's brother. Dario Franchitti currently leads the race, and we're joined by his younger brother, Marino Franchitti. Marino, nice to see you, and things are going pretty good for your brother at the moment.
Yeah, it's looking very good at the moment. He's just on a 120.2, so it's a very quick lap. But looking at the pace that Damata can do with a lot of fuel on board, it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the race plays out.
I'm sure Dario, not right now, but I'm sure when he looks back on this race, depending on how it turns out, but up until now, he would be very surprised to be in the position he's in, considering how the weekend started for him.
For sure, he had a very tough Friday. It wasn't looking very good at all, but on Saturday, he pulled out what I believe is one of his best qualifying laps ever to actually move the car up so far, and he's certainly doing a fantastic job at the moment.
He certainly is, Marino, and he's just run a 20.238, as you say. That is now the new fastest lap of the race. He pulled away by Damata by 0.7 of a second. Cristiano's last lap around here, 20.9. The gap now from first to second, from Franchitti to Bruno Junqueira. We look back down the straightaway. It's almost a whole length of this long main straightaway here. Here is Bruno Junqueira, 10.5 seconds back. Up until that very, very good lap from Dario. Bruno had been matching Dario Franchitti lap for lap in terms of lap time. Last time around that wasn't the case. Here we are again, a 1 minute 20.375 that time for Dario. He is absolutely flying. He knows what he's got to do to win this race. He's got to look after his equipment. He's also got to drive very quickly indeed, and he's doing both of those at the moment.
Word from the players' pit. We know that we've already lost Patrick Carpentier, and the other half of the team, Alex Tagliani, who is currently running in 14th, has lost radio communication with his pit, and the team have told us that he is experiencing gearbox problems. So the day for the players' organisation goes from bad to worse. Franchitti will be in within the next 2 laps. And that gap has now gone out to 11.2 seconds. Damata on screen now. He's just shy of 18 seconds behind Franchitti, running in third.
And all things remaining equal, Cristiano is certainly going to have a hard time. You know, he's still going to make the same number of pit stops as everybody else. I think he's made 2 pit stops now. The other race leaders have made 1, but everybody else needs to make 3 more pit stops, and so does he. He came in early on that first call. Very interesting strategic call. He's running in 3rd place now, so certainly plenty of time for him to be able to make up that advantage, and particularly if there is a full course yellow.
Marino Franchitti is with us in the international commentary box at the moment. And Marino, just quickly, for those people listening around the world, maybe not everyone knows that you are the younger brother of Dario, and you are also an auto racer yourself. Give us an update on what's happening with your career at the moment.
Well, I just actually had my first test in a LMP 900, which is the top class that they would race at Le Mans, which is paddle shift, a lot of power, so that was an amazing experience, and to go from Formula 4 to that in 18 months has certainly been a wild ride.
You've done some Grand Am racing, some other sports car racing as well, haven't you? The British GT Championship?
Yep, won the British GT Championship last year and moved into prototypes this year, so it all seems to be going very well.
Well, your brother certainly has his hands full out there right now. We've had the word that he will be coming in this lap to meet his 21-lap pit strategy deadline.
That's absolutely right.
It's on this lap.
This lap.
Okay.
That's the radio call to Dario Franchitti. He knows what he's got to do. He will come straight on here into the pit lane. George Klotz and the boys there for the car number 27. They're ready and waiting to make a full pit stop here. They'll change all 4 Bridgestone Potenza tyres and a full tank of methanol fuel.
Wide open, stop on the box.
Franchitti in and gone already. Here is Bruno Junqueira. He was some 11 seconds down on Dario Franchitti. Now there is Cristiano Damata. And there is Dario Franchitti on his outlap. Junqueira released. And there's one of the animals, the woodchucks, that Bruno Junqueira, he must be cursed with those things. They are all around around this circuit, Gilles Villeneuve. And yesterday, Bruno Junqueira had to take evasive action whilst on one of his hot laps in qualifying. He ended up running off the road at turn 8 and 9 to miss running over one of those furry little critters.
He's a bit of an animal lover, is Bruno. He did miss it then, he missed it again there, and boy, he came at the worst news though for Junqueira is he came out of the pits right behind Tony Kanaan. Tony was able to accelerate past him coming out of turn 2, and I fancy Tony Kanaan is going to have the track position on Bruno. Bruno's got a very fast car, but now he's going to be stuck behind Tony, who's running very well this afternoon. He's had all sorts of problems all weekend long. He's certainly been running quite quickly, but I fancy that Junqueira has a faster car than Tony Kanaan, and now he's going to be bottled up behind him. Meanwhile, here's this battle here between Jimmy Vasser and Paul Tracy, and finally, after a lot of trying, Vasser has managed to get past Tracy. He's made that change in the pit stops. Now Paul Tracy, he's on, they're both on coal tires. Jimmy Vasser protects the inside line into the hairpin. Good job there, and Paul Tracy unable to find a way past. And a big gap back from Junqueira to that continuing battle between Paul Tracy and Jimmy Vasser, and the guy who was part of that battle before the pit stops was Shinji Nakano. Bad news for Nakano, he stalled the car during the pit stops, lost a lot of ground, and has fallen all the way from 8th place down to 12th. Costly mistake by Shinji Nakano.
Now after Paul Tracy's hard storming charge, after that last round of pit stops, the Team Cool Green outfit have just told him to start conserving fuel. And there was a few interesting words back and forth on the radio. PT is not happy.
Now the reason they're telling him to conserve fuel again is to try and make a shorter pit stop next time around.
Derek Walker, centre of camera there. Rob Edwards just off to the right.
And then, Toru Takagi doing an excellent job. He's running in 3rd place now, running some very good lap times. About a half a second slower than the race leader, won it 20.517 that time around for Cristiano D'Amata. Dario Franchitti just a couple of tenths slower, but that's a good lap for Dario. It's only 5 laps after he made his pit stop. And Cristiano D'Amata, meanwhile, he made his pit stop a while ago. So when did he come into the pits? On lap 33. So he's going to be at another 7 laps before Cristiano comes into the pits. So he's only got 7 laps of fuel left on board, and Dario has about 15 laps of fuel left on board. So to be within 0.2 of a second at this stage, that's a pretty good effort.
Jimmy Vasser is also one of those 8 drivers in this field that has experience on this circuit as well. Jimmy won here in the Toyota Atlantics Championship. And for Paul Tracy, we were having a giggle about this with him earlier in the weekend. He won a Formula Ford race here and he started laughing. He said, do you know how long ago that was? That was 18 years ago I was racing here in a Formula Ford. He said, I've virtually forgotten what the place is like.
Things don't change though. He won the race, but he was actually thrown out for a dangerous driving, for reckless driving in that event. So as he was also giggling as he recounted that. Things don't change there either.
Yeah, PT was talking about being chased out of the country last night at dinner. The last race he did there, so he hoped that wasn't going to happen again.
He currently runs 6th at the moment behind D'Amata, Franchitti, Takagi, Kanaan. Junqueira is 5. Then it's that Tracy Vasser battle. Dixon is 8. And considering where he started, then dropped back several positions and worked his way up, Scott Dixon is having a pretty strong run. Jourdain is 9th. Fittipaldi rounds out the top 10. Michael Andretti keeps chipping away, starting 18th and last. He now runs 11th. Shinji Nakano, I'm wondering, Jeremy, if he ran into some problems on that last round of pit stops as well, because Shinji dropped a little bit.
Yeah, we mentioned that just a little while ago. I guess you were conversing there with Marino off your headset there, but in fact he did stall the engine during that last round of pit stop, so it cost him an awful lot of ground. He's now hard on the tail of Michael Andretti, and Michael, I think, is struggling a bit this afternoon. Shinji has caught right up very quickly with Michael, but catching and passing, 2 entirely different things.
Approaching lap 50, so there's 33 laps to go from here. And D'Amata, edging ever closer to his next compulsory stop, has edged out on Dario Franchitti another couple of seconds. It's now out to 12.1 seconds, the margin 1 to 2. And Takagi is just under around about 4 seconds behind Dario Franchitti. Here he is, the Walker Racing pilot. We've seen some flashes of brilliance from Tora this year and some flashes of not so much brilliance.
Yeah, really, a lot of frustration among that team. The guy has the ability, but he's just incredibly inconsistent. He was just not on the pace in the qualifying yesterday or really on Friday. But look at that, there's his lap time last time around, 1 minute to 20.871. His best was a 1:20.830. Fastest lap of the race was a 1:20.2. So he's actually lapping now. That time was he was actually slightly quicker than Dario Franchitti. So Tora Takagi, he's fast, he's inconsistent, he's running in third place, so that's the good news.
Running in his second season of the Kart FedEx Championship Series, it's unlikely we'll see Tora next year. I think he will be going elsewhere with Toyota. Meanwhile, here's Tony Kanaan. Tony maintains his 4th place. He won the Motorola Call of the race last weekend for his stunning drive from 18th to 4th. And he turned his weekend around in very much the same fashion that Dario Franchitti has this weekend. The Monan pilot doing a good job. He is on the same strategy as Takagi, as D'Amato. And we will see him in shortly. Lap 54 they're due in by.
And you could just saw a glimpse there of 2 different cars. Behind D'Amato was the blue car. That was the player's car of Alex Tagliano, who's still struggling around, way off the pace. He's 4 or 5 seconds off the pace still, but he is still circulating. Just lost the second lap. And ahead of Cristiano D'Amato, also struggling, a lack of boost on the Ducati Quaker State Telmex car, is Adrian Fernandez. Fernandez is in 13th place.
Word from the Walker pit as they're expecting Tora Takagi in this time by. In the Pioneer Denso Toyota. He didn't start the weekend all that well either. Crashed his primary car. Was forced to use his backup car for the majority of the weekend.
It's a little bit earlier than he needs to come in. He made his last pit stop on lap 33 as Dario Franchitti comes past here on lap 50. Yeah, so here we are on lap 50. Tora Takagi, as you say, onto pit lane. It's been 17 laps since he made a pit stop, so this is still on schedule to be able to get to the end of the race.
Short stop, so get ready.
You heard the word from the Walker camp. This will be a short stop. Get ready, get ready. So it was a very short stop. We expect Cristiano D'Amato in this lap as well.
No, Cristiano...
You go by radio communication.
Okay, fine. He last made his pit stop, Cristiano did on lap 33, so he could go as far as 54 before making a pit stop, but he's trying to equalize his stints. He doesn't want to get held up behind Adrian Fernandez either.
Fernandez currently runs in 13th position.
Watch your speed when you enter.
And here is the radio communication from the Newman Haas pit to Cristiano D'Amato. Let's have a listen.
Clear approach, Chris. Nice and square in your box. 4 tires and fuel, guys. Mr. Mark.
Come the front runners. Franchitti has already gone by, likewise Kanaan.
Yeah, so here comes Bruno Junqueira into turn 1, so it looks like there is Cristiano D'Amato. He's able to resume in 3rd place. That's Kanaan ahead of him, and into the picture did not come Bruno Junqueira, but he's not far behind there. So Bruno is now running in 4th position, and there is now the Walker car of Tora Takagi making another pit stop. So I think he must have had a drive-through penalty there, presumably for exceeding the speed limit of 50 miles an hour. It's a very costly mistake for Tora Takagi.
Well, they're those frustrating things we were talking about for Walker Racing. Those kind of silly things. And it was pit speed. We have had that confirmed pit speed violation. It's those kind of silly things that absolutely drives Derek Walker crazy.
Yeah, it is. It might not be his fault, of course. There could have been a problem of some sort with the pit lane cruise control limiter there, but otherwise you assume that he either forgot to press it or he pressed it too late, coming into the pits, just trying to carry a bit too much speed into where the speed limit begins, which is as they come off the chicane and go into, before they turn right, to go right and left into the pit lane.
So the revised order now as Dario Franchitti comes around the outside of Alex Tagliani, who was a lap down. It's Franchitti, Canaan, D'Amato, Junqueira, Tracy 5, still Vassar 6. Then Takagi, Dixon, Jourdain and Fittipaldi in the 10. This guy has not put a foot wrong all race. After starting outside the front row alongside Cristiano D'Amato. We've had a report from the track too that the reason why Alex Tagliani was going slow there, he had an off on turn 3. As we can see, he's able to continue, but it's been a horrible race for Alex Tagliani.
Yeah, he's having presumably some sort of transmission problems in the car. Is well off the place there, though, is the Monon racing team. They're ready for a pistol. Tagliani there keeps well out of the way as Tony Kanaan came through the hairpin. Behind him, you could just saw a glimpse of Cristiano D'Amato, who is just ahead of Bruno Junqueira.
Here is Tony Kanaan. And we have some updated information from players for you that it may not necessarily be gearbox problems. They're now thinking more engine. The Monon team go to work.
It's definitely a short fuel there because they were hitting the fuel man with a stick, which usually means pull the fuel out.
So with Tony coming in, that now moves Cristiano D'Amato up into second place. Here comes Tracy and Vassar. Tracy will have the run. He is on hot tyres. He tucks in behind Tony Kanaan at the moment. Boy, that was close. And he sneaks through now. Jimmy Vassar needs to do the same to avoid getting held up. Now the margin between Franchitti and D'Amato is just under 15 seconds. Junqueira running third, and he's only about 1.2 seconds behind Cristiano D'Amato.
I'm not sure Jimmy Vassar is going to be able to make that move on Tony Kanaan. By now, Tony is almost up to temperature with those tyres. They're almost up to the right, proper optimum pressures as well. And he's going to be in the next couple of corners, probably coming into the hairpin if he's going to be able to get past them. And I'm pretty sure Tony Kanaan is going to make sure the door is closed. No, he didn't. So Jimmy Vassar saw the option. He knew what he had to do there was get alongside him in the braking area. Tony Kanaan left the door wide open, and Jimmy said thank you very much indeed. He had to go very, very late on the brakes, did Jimmy Vassar, but a good move by him. It was a desperation pass, and desperate measures were called for in that situation. But Tony Kanaan's got the legs of him on the straightaway and retakes the place. Good stuff.
And Vassar shortcuts turn 13.
Vassar's going to pit here. About 5 more laps, 10 more laps.
No problem there for Jimmy. He won't be pulled up for that because he didn't gain position. So Franchitti, D'Amato, Junqueira, Tracy Kanaan, that's the top 5. The Shell Ford of Vassar runs 6. Dixon is now in 7th. Takagi 8th. Jourdain and Fittipaldi. There's the replay of Vassar in the hairpin going up the inside of Kanaan. Kanaan was almost able to switch back and get position, but Jimmy had better acceleration.
Well, initially,
Tony repaid the favour.
Yeah, that's right. Jimmy Vassar lost a lot of momentum in the middle of the corner, and Tony Kanaan, fortunate of him, kept his wits about him and was able to get off the corner better than Vassar, take advantage of the draft, and blast past him on the straight. So a good move by those two guys, and good fun for the fans.
We're starting to get into that zone where the brakes may start to give these guys a problem in this 80-lap long, hard race. Franchitti still leads the way by 15 seconds. He really made a lot of progress. Good, hard, fast driving in the early stages of this race to get himself up. He was tangled up a little bit in turn 1 with Alex Tagliani, and that then forced Kenny Brack out. the Swede out on the opening lap. As we ride with Paul Tracy again.
If you get an opportunity to listen to the car on the downshift, because of the 7-speed box and the very small braking areas on this track, the guys have buzzed a couple of engines apiece this weekend just trying to fit too many downshifts into such a short braking area.
Yeah, you're right, Marino. And additionally, because the brakes are fairly marginal here, they're also using the engine to slow down the car. So the reason they're over-revving the engine is they're making those downshifts rather earlier than they really should do. They're getting get the engine back in gear before the car slowed down enough.
The ride around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve with Paul Tracy. Meanwhile, we get back to that margin, first to second. Here is race leader Dario Franchitti. It has come down 0.6 of a second within the last 3 laps. So they will be monitoring that very, very closely. And we may more than likely see Dario Franchitti come in as soon as he possibly can. And that is lap 59. That will carry him all the way to the end to lap 80. And they will be monitoring that margin. If D'Amato gets too close for comfort, they will bring him in.
It's pretty handy margin, 14.6 seconds, still, 22 laps to go. He can't come in, he could have come in this time, and this was the first lap that the window is open for Dario Franchitti. Anytime between now and the next 4 laps, Dario will come in for that final pit stop.
They're running pretty similar lap times the last time round, both in the 120.9 category. For both of them, they have enjoyed a very clean, fast race. The only difference has been when they stop.
Yeah, the top 3 very, very closely matched indeed. In fact, Paul Tracy now is matching Dario's speeds as well. Last time round, he's actually just fractionally quicker. But the first 4 cars, that's Franchitti, D'Amato, Junqueira and Tracy, all lapping very consistently now, just at or below 1 minute 21 second laps. As I said earlier on, that compares to the pole time of 1:18.959. So it's a pretty quick pace once again in the race here, the Molson Indy Montreal.
It's been a fabulous weekend, the inaugural race for Champ Cars here. The Canadian public has supported it like you can't believe, and the crowds in the stands is evidence of that. Wonderful atmosphere around town, and here at the racetrack on all 3 days, a crowd in excess of 50,000 turned up for the first day on Friday. And they've had plenty of action here today. If you've joined us late for round 13, we lost Kenny Brack on the first lap, first corner. Mario Dominguez and Oriol Servia went out with their respective mechanical problems, and Patrick Carpentier went out with a blown engine. We have 14 of the 18 cars running on track.
Cristiano D'Amato pulled in 0.4 of a second on Dario that lap around, but this man, Bruno Junqueira, in 3rd place, was quicker again by almost 0.2 of a second than Cristiano D'Amato. So right now, Bruno Junqueira, the fastest man on the track.
Fabulous rivalry. There's an incredibly strong friendship between these 2 guys, D'Amato and Junqueira, but there's a growing rivalry. More so from Junqueira's end. He uses D'Amato as a target. He desperately wants to win this championship. If he stays where he is, he will still be in a very strong position in this championship. Today he started this race tied for second with Patrick Carpentier. He'll now move ahead of Patrick.
The problem all the other championship protagonists have at this point is that D'Amato's still in a really good scoring position, and they're not going to gain as much as if he wasn't out of the picture.
Exactly that, Marino Franchitti, and rounds running out, aren't they? We've got the Shell Grand Prix of Denver next weekend, and 2 weeks after that, the Rockingham 500 in Corby in England, which is the next oval event on the calendar. Then the new event on the streets of Miami, and then we head south to the streets of Surfers Paradise on the Gold Coast in Australia. Jimmy Vasser set to come in this time round. lap 62 of 80. And we'll also see Frank Kitty in as well. Here comes Vassar.
Better in the cone, right on your mark. Last one, nice and easy. Right here, nice and smooth. Hold your brakes, wheel straight. Reset your fuel. Nice and easy. Hold on, it's going to be a little long this time. Hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on. Go, 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 go.
Constant radio communication from the Ray Hall team for Jimmy Vassar, telling him it's going to be a little long. Hang on. And now he's released for the final time.
Yeah, good stop there for Team Rahal. Ricardo and Olsen boys, they've won the Craftsman season-long Craftsman pit stop competition well a couple of times in the past. Meanwhile, another couple of notes. Christian Fittipaldi, who's coming out there right behind Jimmy Vassar. Christian's been struggling the last few laps. I think he's got some sort of a problem. He's falling back into the clutches of the battle between Michael Andretti and Shinji Nakano. And I know Nakano is frustrated. I'm sure he's got a faster car than Michael. He just hasn't been able to find a way past. Meantime, Adrian Fernandez is still running a very consistent pace now. Seems to be running better than he was earlier on, but quite a long way behind Michael Andretti and Shinji.
As they work their way up the back straight, watch Shinji Nakano. He was looking for an option there as Andretti takes Jimmy Vassar. Nakano wasn't able to go through with that one as they exit turn 9. We will see Dario Franchitti coming in. Likewise, Bruno Junqueira this time round. Andretti locks up into the hairpin, trying to keep Vassar at bay. So watch for this. Our race leader is coming in for his final stop. The margin between he and Cristiano De Matta, 13.9 seconds.
Yeah, just a quick note. Toru Takagi has a problem as well. He's off the pace the last couple of laps. He's down now to 8th place.
Andretti, Vassar, Nakano further down the order. And our race leader is in. Here is Frank Kitty.
Okay, wide open. Come on over.
That's Kyle Moyer there, the team manager for Team Gold Green, calling Dario into the pits. Bruno Junqueira in behind him as well. Out of here, they say. Here comes Bruno Junqueira in for his final pit stop as well.
Target team go to work. So no animals run out this time in front of Bruno. He's released for the final time.
Go for it.
This is the run to home for those guys.
There's Paul Tracy in 4th place making his final pit stop. Tony Kanaan went past. Scott Dixon also in the pits. That's Scott Dixon going past on the outside fast lane.
So here's the man who has had a very clean, clear, faultless race. Dario Franchitti on his outlap and no longer needs to pit. Christian Fittipaldi. Last time he pitted was on 42.
Go, 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 go. Watch your speed. L3.
Same strategy as the front runners, Frank Kitty and Junqueira, so he can now go all the way to the checkered flag, and there is the race leader, Cristiano De Matta. Now some news from the Newman Haas team. They're going to pull Cristiano De Matta in within the next 3 laps.
Yeah, that's right. He made his last pit stop on lap 51, so he has to be in before lap 672. So any time though between now and then, he will be able to get to the end without making an additional pit stop. It's an 80-lap race. We're on lap 65 right now, so he's within the window to make it to the end with just one more pit stop. So any time will do for Cristiano De Matta, but his lead over Dario Franchitti only 13.8 seconds, and that is not enough time to be able to make a pit stop and get back out onto the racetrack. The gap back to Bruno Junqueira from Cristiano De Matta, about 28 seconds. That's going to be fairly close.
Michael Andretti is in. Time for him to be serviced whilst in 9th. And here is Cristiano D'Amato. We will monitor this situation when we expect him in. And Fernandez in for the final time as well.
D'Amato will be driving at the moment like he's driving in qualifying, trying to make up as much time as he can on a low fuel situation before he comes into the pits. It's always the time when the car is fastest, especially on the hard tyre that Bridgestone have brought here.
Well, that margin between he and Dario Franchitti is now 15.2 seconds.
Oh, somebody sounded sick. I think it was Junqueira. Yes, it is. Bruno Junqueira is slow on the racetrack. The car sounds awful. It sounds like a broken exhaust on that car. And Tony Kanaan was able to make a move going down into turn 1.
What a shame for Bruno Junqueira. Whilst running in a strong 3rd position. And he's had a pretty productive race today here in Montreal. And Tora Takagi is out as well. So now we start to see the full impact of this 80-lap race on the champ cars here in Montreal. The list begins to grow. We'll get an update for you on Bruno Junqueira in a moment. Tagliani has been surrounded by problems in this race, but he's still able to stay out on track.
There's Christian Fittipaldi trying to find a way past Michael Andretti.
Looks like Tagliani is just trying to stay out there to pick up some points.
Yeah.
And as Dario proved in '99, those points can be very valuable.
No report from Target as yet. Junqueira is experiencing some problems with his radio, so they don't know as yet themselves.
I'll tell you what, Tony Kanaan has just come past here. We're still waiting to see Bruno Junqueira. The time is ticking away and still no sign of it. Here he comes now into turn 12 and 13. That car sounds absolutely horrible. It's way off the pace. Clearly a broken exhaust on Bruno Junqueira's car. And finally the host broadcaster here has picked up on it. There is Bruno Junqueira coming into turn 1, but maybe we can hear the engine now. That is not how a Toyota RV8F engine should sound, trust me.
And this battle continues between Fittipaldi and Andretti. That's the battle for 9th. Those guys are in the championship points positions, that's for sure. Margin from D'Amato to Franchitti has blown out again to now 17.2 seconds.
Pit, Chris, pit this lap.
That's the radio from Newman Haas. Pit, Chris, pit this lap.
Excellent, yeah, good to hear that. Well done, Alex Sabine, who's helping us out here in the booth. He picked up that radio communication there, and he will be in this time round. The gap over Franchitti, as you say, 17 seconds. The gap back to Tony Kanaan now in 3rd place is 30.7 seconds. I fancy that Cristiano will be able to come in and get out without dropping any further than 3rd place.
And we have had confirmation from the Target pit that it is a broken exhaust on Bruno Junqueira's car. Michel Jourdain Jr., who again runs in the points. He is currently in 8th on track. He's got D'Amato right on him. Here is Junqueira again. And with 13 laps left to run.
That ain't going to go 13 laps. So you can see the smoke come out. That engine is all but history.
And if he does not get to the end of this race, which is highly unlikely, which is highly likely that he won't get to the end, I should say, that's both guys that were tied for 2nd.
More tires and fuel.
DNF.
Watch your speed when you enter.
That's the D'Amato radio. Here he comes down the back straight, heading towards pit in. Watch the black machine. In it comes. Final time. 18.3 seconds he has over Dario Franchitti.
Good approach, Chris. Look for Timmy.
And 30.8 seconds over Tony Kanaan, who's driven a great race
Hit your mark, Chris.
in 3rd place.
Franchitti has already crossed the line. Here comes Cristiano D'Amato.
And we'll look for Tony Kanaan, and he's well ahead of Tony Kanaan. Those are a couple of laps cars ahead of Cristiano D'Amato. Tony Kanaan not yet in the picture. That was Adrian Fernandez, who is a lap down right now. There is Cristiano D'Amato. He's rejoined in 2nd place by that early pit stop on lap 12. Absolutely costly for Cristiano Romano. He's going to lose a few points here for Dario Franchitti, but he's not going to be able to. And meanwhile, by the way, Bruno Junqueira, here he is, limping onto pit lane.
Wow.
Let's try, you have to continue, you have to find a way to continue. You need to get points.
We have to find a way to continue, says Bruno.
Take a look at things, so stay in the car.
That's the radio communications here, and you can see Paul Tracy ducking out to go around in there as Bruno Junqueira makes his way on the pit lane, and that's a good indication how much slower he was going. There's Alex Tagliani, by the way, keeping out of something. Yeah, sounds like a broken header. That's what we call broken exhaust, and it's going to be tough for Bruno to continue. He's shut off the engine, and that's never a good sign.
And if Junqueira does
it's
not...
the motor. I think we got stuff coming out of the exhaust still. Step 4, yeah.
Looks like the day is done for Bruno Junqueira. And look at him.
Engine. We have oil in the under tray.
Oil in the under tray. Well, yeah.
Just wait till Ricky's ready. Just sit there and wait.
Tony Kanaan, meanwhile, he was following the same strategy as the early race leader Cristiano Romano. He's just come into the pits for his final pit stop in 3rd place. It looks like he might be able to rejoin without losing a position. There is Tony Kanaan. He's pulling his way out of pit lane as Paul Tracy comes through turns 12 and 13. There is Paul on the racetrack, and here comes Tony Kanaan out of the pits, and looks like he's going to be able to maintain that place. Good work by Monan Racing.
We'll let you know as soon as, and if indeed Junqueira is released from pit lane, but if he does not get out and not score any points, which is highly likely, Franchitti will move back up into a clear second in this Kart FedEx Championship.
Scotland's Dario Franchitti leads the Molson Indy Montreal around the Gilles Villeneuve circuit and looks like he's well on his way to his 2nd win of this year. But while you were away, all hell broke loose. Bruno Junqueira has broken down. He's in pit lane and out of the car now. And then Adrian Fernandez, well, he spanked the wall absolutely big time here. Lucky to get away with that indeed. So we are under a full course yellow as Adrian Fernandez limps to the inside of the circuit, and I can tell you he's out of the car now, and he does seem to be perfectly okay, although shook up. Won't help him very much with the injuries he's already got at the moment, Paul, will it?
No, I think it's towards the end of the race, as we saw last week. He came back rather too soon, to my mind, for the Road America race. He is still suffering, according to the people on the team, and it may well be a fatigue thing, because that was all his own work. There was no reason to have that accident unless he was trying to give Chris some more money.
Well, I was going to say, it's all his own car as well, isn't it? Because he's actually paying for this.
Yes, he is, and I think everyone was a little surprised that he came back early, and I'm inclined to agree with Paul that he's likely to have worn himself out. His big moment is going to come when this series gets to end at gear in Mexico City, where Adrian is the country's biggest sports star, and that's a shame, and he has done a lot of damage to his car.
Here's Tagliani in for his final stop of the race, and the day, what started out to be a magnificent looking day for the players' team, just has not finished that way. Their biggest event of the year, and it's been pretty disappointing.
Certainly has. You know, 3 races in Canada, but this is the only one in French Canada, and in Montreal they were really hoping for a good result this afternoon. They started 4th and 7th on the grid, but both had problems in the race. Patrick, we saw early out of this race, and Tagliani, he's had problems for a long time. Good news is he is continuing, and he's now going to move up into 11th place after Fernandez's crash. So we at least will get some consolation in the form of a couple of championship points.
Well, we are in for a fantastic scrap to the checkered flag at the inaugural Champ Car meeting here at the Molson Indy Montreal. First time the Champ Cars have been on this circuit. And the majority of the guys, after practice and qualifying, gave very positive reports. They enjoyed driving on this circuit that's been dominated by Formula One for 25 years. There's the Simple Green safety team addressing the Fernandez situation there. Let's hope Adrian's okay. We saw him get out of the car and he was able to stand. We know that he's got those problems with his pelvis, etc., recovering from the Vancouver accident. And the report from the Fernandez team, he simply ran wide. We saw that for ourselves.
Yeah, he was pushing pretty hard before that incident. He'd been closing up on his teammate Shinji Nakano, who's had problems in the pits this afternoon, and he was just pushing a bit too hard, I fancy, Lee Diffie.
The Molson Indy Montreal is set for an amazing finish. There is 7.5 laps to go from here, on board with Paul Tracy. He started 10th. He sits a very strong 4th. The order there is Dario Franchitti, Cristiano D'Amato. Nakano is in the middle there. Don't worry about Shinji. He is back in 10th and a lap down. Then it's Tony Kanaan. What can Tony come up with? He's in for his second podium of the year if he can stay where he is. But watch out for Paul Tracy as well. And what about Scott Dixon? The young Kiwi is in contention as well.
Yeah, he's been running well lately, but you say don't worry about Shinji Nakano. Well, Dario Franchitti shouldn't worry about Shinji Nakano, but Cristiano D'Amato probably should do. The common denominator, of course, with Dario Franchitti and Shinji Nakano, they both run Honda engines. We've seen some sort of strategies, let's call it, play out in the past, and if Shinji can delay the progress of Cristiano D'Amato, that would be working to the benefit of Dario Franchitti.
Looks like Mexico round 2, doesn't it, really?
Yes, exactly. Now, how do you feel? Your brother is there, poised for his second victory of the season. You a little nervous?
I feel sick. Really, this is worse for me than racing myself. Watching Dario is, without a doubt, the worst thing in the world.
Well, he's done it before, Marino. He did it in Vancouver, and he did it well, except he was racing this guy, his teammate, Paul Tracy, but he sustained the pressure and he did it very well. And as Jeremy pointed out, precisely, he's got that buffer of Shinji Nakano there at the moment between he and Cristiano D'Amato. As soon as we know we're going green, we will let you know. You can see there the track is being cleared. Fernandez's car being taken away, and we think they'll go soon. Look at this, D'Amato is definitely closer to Shinji Nakano now. Nakano a lap down in 10th, but right in between the front two. Look how tight it is up there. Fittipaldi's run wide. Out of the hairpin, all running nose to tail.
Good stuff here, and Dario Franchitti's put out a bit of a gap on the straightaway, and so is Shinji Nakano over D'Amato. So D'Amato is not close enough here to make a pass. Oh, on Shinji Nakano. Well, now Nakano straight lined it there, and if he makes any ground over the other guys, and it could be argued that he did pull out a margin there over D'Amato, then he will be ordered to pull back and let that gap re-establish itself. So that's going to be an interesting call for the race officials. The good news though, Dario Franchitti now a pretty handy lead over the second place car.
Back in 5th is Target Chip Ganassi, Scott Dixon, the sole remaining Ganassi car, and Scott is currently in his equal best position. He finished 5th when he went from 15th to 5th. We ride with Dixon now. He made up 10 positions at Mid-Ohio. That's his best result this year. He's got one of the toughest characters in the game to work on ahead, Paul Tracy. If he can get ahead, it will be his season's best finish. And Paul Tracy now goes by Nakano. Everyone's gone by Shinji.
Okay, hats off Shinji. He realised he wasn't quick enough there to keep ahead of D'Amato without clearly holding him up. So he's done the right thing to get out of the race. I applaud Shinji Nakano for making that move. He wanted to make sure that he wasn't being unfair to the race leader. He might have just laid him a snitch there as he pulled off to the outside of the racetrack, but not sufficient. And now the hammer down. We've got 4 laps to go when they come past this time around. It'll be 4 laps to go when they come past this time around. And Cristiano D'Amato, you see the deficit he has to make up over Dario Franchitti.
Let's check the margin this time round. It was 1.4 seconds last lap. Let's see what it is this time as they flash on by. It's 2.6 seconds. So Franchitti is doing it comfortably, and we are inside 4 laps. With Junqueira and Carpentier out, Franchitti will move into a clear second in the Kart FedEx Championship Series. Third is Tony Kanaan, and he will be very much hoping he can hold station and pick up his second podium of the year. D'Amato second, Kanaan third, Tracy fourth, and there is Scott Dixon. The 22-year-old Kiwi running in a fine 5th. Vassar is 6th for his second top 10 result in as many weeks. Jourdain is in the points after starting all the way back towards the end of the field. Fittipaldi 8th, Andretti 9th, Nakano 10th, and Tagliani the 11th and final car in this race. There is Dario Franchetti's pit board, just letting him know what margin he had last time round. It was 2.6 seconds. It's now 3.1. So Franchetti is building on Cristiano D'Amato. And he was half a second faster. Plenty of smoke coming from the rear of Scott Dixon's target, Chip Ganassi Toyota. Let's hope this is not the end for Dixon. It certainly is. He is slowing. And that's the day done. Oh, what heartbreak for Dixon. With 3 laps to go. He was running 5th at Road America a week ago. He went out with brake troubles. That put him out. And we've just had word it's gearbox that has denied Scott Dixon another top 5 finish. What a character building season for Scott Dixon. That puts Jimmy Vasser up into the top 5, exactly where he finished a week ago at Road America. And his teammate is right there with him, Michel Jourdain Jr. Can you believe this guy? He starts 15th. He's the king of getting points without setting the world on fire. He just chips away, chips away. The attrition rate has been high yet again. And Dario Franchetti is within 2 laps from home. We had Townsend Bell in the box here for the first half of the race. The latter half, we've had Dario's younger brother, Marino. The old boy's not doing so bad.
He's doing a very, very good job at the moment, but there's still 2 laps, the longest 2 laps of the race for me, certainly, and I'm sure for Dario. So there'll be lots of weird noises coming from the car. He'll be listening to everything, just trying to keep it as fast as possible, obviously, but not going over the edge that he's going to make a mistake to allow Cristiano back through.
Well, it's been a seesaw season for Honda. When they're on, and when they're off, they are dreadful. We saw the seesaw from Vancouver when they had the podium 1, 2, and 3 to go to Mid-Ohio a fortnight after, and Franchetti and Tracy were the first 2 out of the race. But they are on song again today. Honda 1, 3, and 4 with Franchetti, Kanaan, and Tracy. D'Amato, the odd man out, sitting in second. As they exit turn 10, the hairpin coming down this long back straight, they climb to in excess of 190 miles per hour. Your race leader, Dario Franchetti, will see the white flag. 1 more lap to go for Scotland's Dario Franchetti in the Team Cool Green Honda. He is on his way home. He has handled the pressure. He had over a 6-second lead. Back to Cristiano D'Amato. Fernandez crunched the wall. It brought out the yellows. The field came back together. Franchetti made a great job on the restart and has driven away to the tune of 3 seconds over Cristiano D'Amato. He complained earlier this weekend. He was struggling for straight line speed. He was absolutely filthy. Franchetti said he was sick of the excuses. It was time for it to stop. Well, it seems like there's been no shortage for straight line speed in the race for Franchetti.
If you look closely to Dario's car, he doesn't actually have a gurney on the rear wing at all. They've just taken it all out for this race.
And it's worked.
It's working so far.
The last time that Franchetti won, his good friend Tony Kanaan finished in 3rd. We've got a repeat of that today. Franchetti is on his way home. Down this final stretch, he's heading towards the turn 12 and 13 complex. The last chicane, the last lap, Franchetti has done it. It is again Dario's day.
I know there's somebody's favorite fan truck now. So it say so. Good job, guys. Good job.
The team congratulate him. Sensational stuff for the Scotsman. There's the Team Cool Green boys. He beats the championship leader home. There's his teammate Paul Tracy congratulating him. And D'Amato was beaten fair and square. They went on a different strategy, but the championship leader gains plenty of points for that second, and he continues to make it hard for the rest of the field.
Well, my brother did say to me today, he said the championship's obviously quite far away at the moment, and he's just going for race wins, and I think this is the first time I've seen him win since 1994 in British Formula 3, so this is a pretty special one for me.